For tonight's commentary, we asked Lars and David, is the debt ceiling deal a good one?
Straight talk from the left and from the right.
The debt and deficit deal cut by the United States Congress stinks, but I figure it's still a good start on solving the financial problems of this country. Let's review. In the mid-90s, a Republican Congress dragged President Bill Clinton kicking and screaming to a balanced budget for a couple of years. Since then, presidents from both parties have been growing government and citizen entitlements like weeds. President Obama began this year asking for the biggest increase in borrowing in America's history. He figured to increase this year's deficit by $29 billion and next year's by $86 billion, budgeting $9 trillion in new debt over the next 10 years. Enough, shouted America's Tea Partiers. This plan cuts $1 trillion and lets these government fools borrow to keep the wheels turning. By Thanksgiving, we have to see nearly $1.5 trillion in cuts or mandatory cross-the-board cuts slam into place. And if we keep doing it, a dollar cut in spending for every dollar borrowed, we should arrive at a balanced budget in less than 10 years. It has to happen. And this is the first step in that journey of 1,000 miles. And in that sense, it's a good deal.
Now, straight talk from the left.
This week's raising of the debt ceiling was a bad deal, badly arranged. The message wasn't that a painfully divided Congress could still do the country's business, but that people willing to risk an international financial disaster have a huge negotiating advantage over people who think that could be a bad idea. Now we'll see it used again and again. Since 1917, Congresses of both parties have raised the debt ceiling whenever necessary to meet national obligations. This time, Republicans took it hostage. And because they were willing to kill the hostage, they got lots of spending cuts and no revenue increases. And Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says the debt ceiling was a hostage worth ransoming. And this will be the model for future increase requests. But when the markets were supposed to surge upward in relief, instead they went down. Investors here and abroad concluded the United States was now an unreliable partner. A British newspaper explained, as long as a generation of Republican politicians feel entitled to hold a gun to the head of the credit of America to secure their political ends, disaster will never be far away. But politically, hostage-taking works, especially when we're all the hostages.